When we prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value.
But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is a emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
This is a Sales Logic. It is 8 a.m. Saturday morning, one of my favorite times of the week. I'm hanging out here with my partner, Mark Hunter. It is time to talk about sales. It is time to talk about how to get your pipeline full and close more deals. So, Mark, what's up for today?
Well, the topic fits that because it's the fastest way to grow sales without prospecting. Whoa, let's dig into that one. We got a lightning round. Top 10 must-dos in the second quarter. We got a book we're going to feature. We got a book, or we got a question. But right now, it's the fastest way to grow sales without prospecting. What do you think?
You know, Mark, I wondered if you might be a little bit offended by this topic because you are the...
No, I'm not, because this complements... Well, we're going to talk about complements prospecting. So
okay, because you are the master of prospecting. But I think if you want to grow sales without prospecting, I like this topic because I think it's a good place to start, in the sense that don't add more prospects to the pipeline if you're not doing the work you need to do with the existing pipeline. So I think one of the greatest places if you want to grow sales without prospecting is to look at your existing customers, your best customers that already buy from you, and look for more opportunities to do more with them.
I without a doubt believe that, because this is why we don't close a deal, but we open a relationship. There's always additional business from existing customers. And this is the easiest way to get more business. But that automatically takes us to the next piece. And Bryn is already jumping in. Let me get Bryn's comment up there on the screen, because her first word is referrals. Let's see, there it is, referrals. Because again, no easier way to build your business than with referrals. And think about this. If you go from, I'm not going to close a deal, but open a relationship, what do? You create raving fans who are going to talk about you to other people. Guess what? It is a great way to build your business.
Yeah, she talks about the fact that we need to go on LinkedIn and search and filter our connections and bring a list for them and ask them to make those, really make those warm introductions. But I think if you also want to grow sales, and Bryn alluded to this too, but go back to a center of influence. I think it's so important to find people. I was just on the phone with a gentleman this week who runs a human resource company, and he wanted to reach out to talk to me to see if there was a way that he could bring me into his customers and I could bring him into my customers, because we don't do exactly the same things. There's a complement there, and both our customers have needs for what each other's offer. So go back to these centers of influence, these people who could really complement the work that you do, and think about bringing them in.
See, that creates, what you're doing is, in order to get referrals, you got to give referrals. And that is so critical, because what we're talking about is, how do you find other people who will benefit from what it is that you offer? And let's go back to this whole premise of your existing customers, because again, there's so much business from your existing customers because they probably don't even know that you offer this service or you offer that product or whatever it is. And guess what? You got to have some conversations with them. But in so doing, what are they going to do? They're going to begin to realize who else they may want to introduce you to. But you know what? You got to prime the pump. You got to ask the question, hey, who else do you know who you think would benefit from the service that I've been able to provide you? You've got to prime the pump and make sure that you please give referrals. Anyway, so much we could unpack there. We got great comments from Gina and Terry. Always great to hear from them. So, Mayor, how do you go about getting referrals? How do you open relationships?
Well, how I open relationships is, something I wanted to say about if you want to grow sales without prospecting is number one is just do an incredibly good job for the person that the customer that you have right now. And I think so often we overlook that, but we think about sales as a volume game, and it is a volume game. You've got to have a lot in the pipeline. You've got to have a lot moving through. But we can get so caught up on the pipeline that we forget about the fact that the fastest way to grow your business without prospecting is to do an exceptional job for the current customer. Because in today's marketplace, word of mouth is everything. I feel like we have gone back to the 1930s on word of mouth. Like, Terry may love me, may want to do business with me, but even if we had a great call, he's going to ask Mark, he's going to ask Gina, he's going to ask Bryn what it's like to work with me, or if they've ever heard of me. So I think that's the place that you really need to think about if you want to grow sales without prospecting. What are you doing to really elevate the current experience that your current customers are having?
And that's very simple. You just ask the customers, what else can I be doing for you? How else can I help you? Be proactive, not only in what you can already deliver, but then say, hey, where are some other issues? Where's some, invite yourself into them. Now, here's something that I found from a referral standpoint and just getting to know people. It's noisy out there. There's so much competition out there. And this is why people are really relying on relationships more than ever to see who they should do business with. But one of the things that I found is that if you recommend me or if I recommend you, what does that person do? They automatically go to your website, right? They go to your LinkedIn profile. The better your website, the better your LinkedIn profile, the better the presence you have on the internet, the easier it is for people to talk about you with other people. You see, you're really making it just very simple, easy. I love this. I ask all my existing customers for referrals. Include asking for referrals as part of your sales process. Comment from a LinkedIn user. So spot on, because there's something else. We can ask for referrals at any point in time where we've delivered value to the customer. It doesn't have to be necessarily after the sale is completed.
We've got a mic drop comment here from Sashu. I always think of my current job as a sort of rehearsal for my next big opportunity. I love what you're saying here, Sashu, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And the reason is because the thing about sales is that sometimes it can look dark. Like there's just not a lot coming in. Things don't look really good, but things can change in one moment with one action. So when I think about the current customer experience, I think about you've got to be thinking of little ways to elevate it. Like I was on with a potential prospect the other day, and we were going through the things that they're looking at me and like 3 or 4 other speakers. And I said, here's a couple of other things we could do. Oh, based on this, here's another idea that we could do, showing that I'm proactively finding ways to add more value to the relationship than my competitors would add. That's going to get people really happy, really excited, not only get them to choose me, but be able to go out and say to other people, gosh, when we worked with Meridith, this is what we got. So if you want to grow your sales without prospecting, really, really focus on adding incredible value to the current relationship.
And you do that by asking questions. You just engage them in a conversation. And it's amazing. The customer will point you to opportunities. And again, this is the easiest way to grow existing sales. What I find so interesting, you touched on it at the beginning, we get so focused on our pipeline that we really don't pay enough attention to what we have right in hand. We have right here. And this includes not only existing customers, or we'll say customers we're about ready to close, or customers we just closed, how do we add them? But going back and talking to all of those existing clients that we haven't maybe sold anything to in the previous 3 months, 6 months, year, even 2 years, just having conversations with them. They're easy conversations. And you've already taken the time to develop the relationship. Go back and find out what's going on in their world. And it's amazing. You're going to find opportunities to serve them. And when you do that, you're going to grow your sales without using that word prospecting, which isn't so evil. It isn't so evil.
Well, I think another thing that we need to focus on if we want to grow our sales without prospecting is maybe it's time to relook at your value proposition. In fact, I don't care if you're having your best year on record. You should still always look at your value proposition and say, is it really aligning? I think two things. Is it really aligning to what my customers need, what prospects might be looking for? The other is, and I feel like this is my case with mine. I'm re-looking at mine right now. I feel like it's become a commodity value proposition. It was a value proposition that used to stand out. It was very, very different and unique. Now everybody's got that value proposition. So it's time to re-look at my value proposition, up my value proposition, and change my value proposition.
You know, what's interesting is I was having a conversation yesterday with an account executive, and he had been for the last year 100% focused on one customer. And the customer went poof, they went away. And he said, man, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, how many other relationships did you develop in that account over the previous year? He said, well, I was just focused on getting this in. I said, okay, I hate to say it, but the ship sailed without you because you didn't take the time to develop other relationships in there to find other services that you could be helping them with, other things that you could be doing. Irregardless of how focused you are on an account, there are always opportunities, but you've got to go out of your way to be developing more relationships, more resources, more tools, more ways. Because again, this is the fast way. This gentleman now is looking at, he says, I've got no business on my calendar for the second quarter on. And he was wondering what to do. And I almost wanted to say, dude, you should have started this process a year ago when you saw yourself getting 100% focused on one account. You've got to spread out your efforts in any account you're currently working with.
Yeah, I love what Terry is saying here when you talk about we've got to develop new tools. And Terry, I am not doing this, so I'm excited to dive into it today. He says, make it a point to add more value all the time. Notebook LM is a great way to do that easily with added audio learning, instructive video, mind maps, slideshows, and more. In other words, what Terry is saying, look for opportunities where you can edge out the competition and just really add value truly at another level. Mark, I want to comment on your, the person that you were talking to that is no business for the second quarter. Look, we have all been there. We have all been there. It is just a sick in your stomach. You were so counting on something to close. It doesn't close. You realize you put all your efforts there. What you've got to do is give yourself 30 minutes to vent, to cry, to do whatever you need to do, and you need to get right back on that horse. You may not be able to save second quarter, but the actions that you take right now will save third quarter, fourth quarter, or at least the first quarter of 2027. Everybody has stuff blow up. We all make mistakes in sales. But the beautiful thing about sales is I think about it like a golf game. What I love about the golf game is there's always a back nine. I always get to start over again. And so, you'll make those mistakes, but get back on the horse, start again, do those behaviors you need to do.
That's what I love about the start of every day. It's a brand new day. Hey, we got to get to the question this week. It comes from Nico in Madrid. He says, I have a great customer retention rate, highest in the company. I am heavily involved in my industry and community, but I rarely get referrals. What am I doing wrong? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first thing I would say is, are you asking for them? I mean, Mark made the greatest point ever. I mean, another mic drop moment on this podcast. And that is that do not assume because you do a good job that people will refer to you. The top two reasons that people do not send you business, top two, are number one, they assume that you don't need the business. And number two, you never asked. Those are the top two. And so, those are the things. That's basically what I would say.
I'm going to add to that. He's probably not giving referrals because I'll tell you what, if you want to get, there's something magical. Have you ever noticed that? The more referrals you give, the more referrals you come back. It's not a one-to-one relationship, but boy, it's amazing how the universe of referrals comes back. That's why I have a personal goal. Every week I give 3 referrals and it's amazing. I love Bryn's comment. She says, hey, in the free LinkedIn, you can build a search of your ICP with first degree and other filters. Exactly. Use the tools and the resources you have out there to be able to find people who will fit in your space. And again, these are easy people then that you might be able to say, hey, I can refer a current client I have to them, or maybe I can connect with them and say, hey, can you introduce me to somebody else? There's so many ways. Hey, business is all about connections. Business is about relationships. And that's what is at the center of referrals. But it starts with, you got to take the action and pump or prime the pump, so to speak, in terms of educating people to give you referrals. And you have to be giving referrals.
I got to tell you, I think that our audience has so much value. Bryn, I am not doing this. I'm not using the free LinkedIn to build a search of my ICP with First Degree and other filters. I am jumping on that. I'm jumping on that today. What a great piece. What a great piece of advice. And Sashu is back. He loves that the value proposition can shift over time. Not only that it can, Sashu, it has to shift over time. You've heard Mark and I talk about this on the show, but think about this right now as we're recording this podcast. We're at the end of first quarter. Gas prices are off the chart. Inflation is threatening. You know, TSA lines have been funded by the government, but who knows how long that's going to, how long Homeland Security is going to be funded. We've got this war going on in the Middle East. By the fourth quarter, the chances that at least some of that will have shifted will be huge. And so you have to really say, is what I'm selling and offering highly relevant in today's marketplace?
Which also means in this volatile marketplace that we have, you got to make sure that you have a very spread out customer base. Because again, I remember this goes back. I remember I had this problem years ago. My business was really around 4 clients, and poof, overnight, they went away and I was in trouble. So you've got to create a diverse customer base. And you talk about the fastest way to grow sales. That's one of the fastest ways to grow sales, is by having enough different opportunities that you can always find one to be leveraging.
Yeah, I think another thing you need to focus on if you want to grow sales and not necessarily prospect, is to think about really building your reputation in the market. And I don't mean like, the awards you've won or things like that. What I really mean is the way that you are adding value in the marketplace, the things that you are doing, learning, focusing, and what are you doing to spread the word about the impact that you are making, so that if people you become the known expert for them to call, not because of where you went to college or how many years you've been in business or because you have great customer experience, but because when people worked with you, these are the bottom line results that they saw.
And what happens then is, again, you become easier to refer, because you'll have a client who, wow, they read what you posted on LinkedIn, or they saw what you did for this industry article, this industry magazine, whatever it might be. And they sit there and they go, wow, that's really good. I got to share this with somebody else. So guess what? You become the expert in your space. And this really comes back to this whole thing. The fastest way to grow sales without prospecting isn't necessarily about trying to be master to everybody. It's really being an expert in a very tight space that you become well known for. I love Gina's comment. Important to keep your CRM updated and organized so that you can easily follow up with past clients. And I'll tell you what, I was with a major company this week, and their sales enablement person said, you know what, we've got statistics that show less than 30% of our salespeople are actively using our CRM system. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every year putting the CRM system out there, and less than 30% of their salespeople are using it. You're right. It is a tool there for you. Use your CRM system because it's going to point you to opportunities.
Yeah, which leads to another great way to grow sales without prospecting. Really going in with what Gina is saying is that you got to tighten your follow-up system. I mean, if you're not really focusing on the fact that, I think that we give up on follow-up because we worry that people do not respond back to us. And so are you getting yourself on the right cadence? I mean, to me, when I'm following up with a past client, I don't take it personally if they don't reach out to me, if they don't connect with me. I'm just trying to stay in their mindset, in their vision. Should opportunity arise, they would think of me. But as I always like to say, follow-up is 70% value add and 30% asking for the business.
Oh, I love that. It's got to be 70% value add. That's why you don't send that, I'm just checking in, or I want to bounce this to the top of your list. Yes. Hey, oh, Sashu, I love this. Diverse offers with similar expertise in the same industry, right? Yeah, exactly. That's what you're doing. You are staying in that space. Hey, time is ripping past. We got to get to the book. A perfect book for this week. Endless Referrals by our good friend Bob Berg.
Is there anybody who knows more about referrals than Bob Berg knows about referrals? And if you have not read Endless Referrals, then you need to go in and check it out. Because if you want to grow your sales without prospecting, check out what Bob Berg has to say.
That man wakes up thinking referrals.
Yes.
He has lunch thinking referrals. He goes to bed at night thinking referrals. And as a result, he is the master at referrals because it's the centerpiece of everything that he does. So excellent book, Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. Lightning round, you ready?
I am.
Top 10 must-dos in the second quarter.
All right, so we are just getting ready to kick off the second quarter. I think if you want second quarter to be successful, it's time to requalify your pipeline. Really go in there and get gut-wrenchingly honest with yourself about what is in your pipeline.
2, set a goal of the number of referrals you're going to give each week. My goal is 3 referrals each week.
I think, kind of going along with that, I think a really good thing is to go back and check everybody you did business with in the first quarter and just send them a thank you note and ask them for a referral for another opportunity.
I love that. Number 4, look at what I'm calling barriers to engagement. It's what are you doing that's making it hard for your customers to engage with you? Go back, eliminate those, simplify the process, make it easy.
Yeah, reconnect and set a schedule to reconnect with any stalled opportunities, not just the stalled opportunities in first quarter, but the stalled opportunities from second and from third and fourth quarter of last year.
Number 6, take a look at all the products and the services that you sell, create a grid, look at your customers and see where are the gaps. Then ask yourself, what is it that I need to do to fill that gap? Why is this customer not buying that product, that service? Regardless of what it is that you sell, you have additional things that your customers need.
Yeah, I think you need to also make a list of who you need to be connecting with and who you need to be networking with in 3 buckets. Number 1 in your industry, number 2 in within your own organization, and number 3 within the community or market within you sell. Who are the influencers and connectors that you need to make sure you need to touch base with?
Number 8, look at the questions that you're asking. I hope you've been recording all the questions that you've been asking your customers over the previous quarter and go back and look at them. Which ones do you need to change? Which ones do you need to take out? Which ones do you, what are some new questions you need to add? Always be updating the questions you're asking your customers.
Yeah, I would also say that you need to relook at both your value proposition and your ICP. Are they accurate? Are they valid? Are they, is your ICP still in an industry that has a lot of, upward mobility? So review those as you set your call schedule for the second quarter.
Look at every opportunity you have in your pipeline and where are the stagnant ones? Where are the ones that aren't going anywhere? Get them out so you spend more time with a better slate of prospects so you're not wasting time with the dogs that are there. Hey, I love Gina and Bob's comment. I know they're good friends with Bob Berg. And
such a great guy.
Love it. Anyway, hey, with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. Something we've said has earned you a single dollar. Consider telling a friend about our show because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. So remember, you've got sales training needs, you have sales coaching needs, you've got an SKO that you're still kicking off for the year. Reach out to Mark, reach out to me. We'd love to help you grow this organization, love to help you take things to the next level. If you have a question, we want you to reach out here on Sales Logic. Reach out to Mark, me, because we're going to feature you. Our goal here is to help you sell more effectively. We'll see you right back here next week.